Improvising using target tones. When you're improvising, for example, with the pentatonic scale pattern 1, in this case A minor pentatonic, the initial way to get started is to just kind of roam around the scale and get comfortable with the fingering, something like this. Problem with that, or not the problem, but the limitation is that you're not making musical sense if you're just dancing around the scale. In other words, it's not in context with any chord progression. So what I want to do is show you these target tones, how they relate to a 12-bar blues, a very common 12-bar blues chord progression, which, hundreds, maybe thousands of songs are based upon. So what I'm going to do within this scale, I'm going to find the roots, or the letter name of each chord, starting with a note. For example, this note right here, I'm on the 7th fret, 4th string with the 3rd finger. That note happens to be an A, and that's our most at rest note with our 1 chord, which is the A power chord. So that's going to be the note I want to start on every time the 1 chord is being played. For example, at the beginning, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, or 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So my goal is to play that target tone at the beginning of every measure. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And that's 4 measures of the 1 chord. Then when I go to the 4 chord, I want to move my target tone, and the target tone will always move in the same direction as the chord moved there. So I'm just going to go to the 3rd string, 7th fret with my 3rd finger, and that's my 4 chord tone. That happens to be a D note, and the 4 chord in this key is a D power chord. So I'm going to start there for 2 measures to follow the pattern. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then the chord progression goes back to the 1 chord for 2 measures. So I'm going to play on the 1 chord again for 2 measures. So far I have, from the beginning, 8 measures total. 4 measures on the 1 chord, 2 measures on the 4 chord, and 2 measures on the 1 chord again. So I'll do something like 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now when the chord progression goes to the 5 chord, the 5 chord happens to be an E power chord, and within this scale, one of my E's happens to be right there, 2nd string, 5th fret with the pointer finger. So I'm going to make that my 5 chord target tone, and the 5 chord only happens 1 measure there, so I'm just going to play 1 measure of the target tone. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then my chord progression goes to the 4 chord for 1 measure. So after my 5 chord, I'm going to go back to my 4 chord tone, 2, 3, 4, and then my chord progression goes back to the 1 chord, 2, 3, 4, and then it goes back up to my 5 chord 1 more time, and then I'm back to the beginning or the end of the pattern. So those last 4 measures starting on the 5 chord will look like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 chord, 2, 3, 4, 1 chord, 2, 3, 4, back to the 5 chord, 2, 3, 4. I'll do that again. My 5 chord, 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 chord, 2, 3, 4, 1 chord, 2, 3, 4, 5 chord, 2, 3, 4, and then back to the beginning. So the whole thing is going to be, it's basically a giant connect the dots. If you know where the dots are, 1 chord, 4 chord, 5 chord, these target tones, after you're able to nail those every single time without getting lost throughout the chord progression, then you can add notes from the scale, something as simple as this. A 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So if you notice, every time beat 1 comes around, I'm back on the target tone. So after doing 4 measures of that, I'd of course go to my 4 chord, start on that target tone, and just keep adding notes from the scale. So I'll go through the whole chord progression here. 1, 2, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. Now my 4 chord. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. On my 1 chord. 2, 3, 4. 1, 2. Here comes my 5 chord. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 chord. 1 chord. 1, 2. And back to my 5. And my 1 back to the beginning. And it's just a matter of once you're able to do that, anything you can play that your technique will allow can be done as long as you're getting back to these target tones every time. So if I go, much more advanced, I might do something like 1, 1, 1, and there's my 4 chord, and so on. And I would keep going through that process. So what I'm going to do now is play along with a 12-bar blues in A play along I have on YouTube here, or I found on YouTube. And I'm going to go through this maybe 5 times. The first time I'm just going to do the target tones. And the second time I might add 1, maybe 2 notes in between each target tone. And then I'm going to add quarter notes, like a bass line, 4 notes, but always starting on my target tone again. Then I'll do a little bit more of an advanced solo, and then I'll improvise a more advanced one than that. So I'll go through it 5 times. Here we go.